This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All righty, there he is. And the myth legend. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heapy. Ira, how you doing, my friend? You doing all good?
I'm doing good, I'm outside now at the arena, so if this cuts out or it doesn't work perfectly, let me know. I'll switch to the phone, text me, give me the high sign here, but I'll try to make it work. I got a scrimmage today, the only scrimmage the media is allowed in during training camp, so I'm looking forward to that to see how things get out. And I think like everyone in South Florida, people can't wait for the NBA and the NHL to start because we need some sort of relief. Hopefully this season the Heat can deliver that kind of relief.
Yeah, I think this is the best year because they just get older after this. But this is the year where I think you can make an impact. And if Kyrie's going to do the stupid things that he's going to do, and Ira, I'm just wondering when you see the whole thing with Shaq, and I don't know if you saw, did you see the soundbite, the video with Shaq?
I'm not sure I have seen the one you're referring to, so fill me in.
Okay, well, Shaq kind of let Kyrie have it.
I try not to be little on another man's opinion. However, let me tell you what I think. This game of ours, sometimes you have to think about other people rather than yourself. Now, Kyrie has his views, he has his opinions. I'm not going to knock that. But he does have an obligation because he took that $200 million.
Right.
Only thing I don't like is, can you respect my privacy? Once you sign up for this life, there is no privacy. And you have to accept it. But if you're on my team and you can't play home games, I don't want you around. Like, we have a chance to win. And if you ain't on the program, go somewhere else. Period. Hey, whatever your reasons are, cool with that, but we ain't gonna be going back and forth for 41 games when we're gonna play now. Get your ass out there. I try not to belittle another man's.
So, your thoughts on that?
I agree with him, and I agree with everyone who says you signed up for this life, which is a unique life, and you've agreed to make concessions in this life. You leave your family for a weekend. You work this compact schedule now. It's a pandemic. Life has changed. Look, I understand. And if you're an objector, that's fine. You forego your salary. You say, hey, and you know this from the NFL. Do you remember how NFL players were allowed to bypass the season? They just had to let you know in advance. Albert Wilson for the Dolphins, among others. And I have a wish with that. But you can't do it to me on the eve of the season. You can't do it to me on the eve of the season when you're my point guard or you're my starting guard or you're Andrew Wiggins or you're Bradley Beal or you're Dre Burke and I'm counting on you. So it would have been one thing when you go to the GM's office where Kyrie Irving goes to Sean Marks and a month ago says, you know what? I don't feel comfortable in this situation. I'm going to be sitting out the season. Fine. Sean Marks says, you know what?
Oh, he froze.
Go to instead. I don't know if I broke up there, but to me, that's a case of you agree that you're going to tell someone ahead of time what you're going to do. But Big O, we're on the eve of camp. The Heat's first exhibition game is Monday. These need to know what they are and who they are.
Right. No, I'm with you. And that's why when I look at this Heat team, this is now if Kyrie's going to stick to his guns here. I mean, listen, it's hard to even count on him to stay in one piece for an entire season as it is. But if he's going to give up those home games, then the Nets pretty much aren't going to be able to win a title. That's for sure, because it was kind of proven with two of them, they're not the same team than they are when all three of them are playing. And this ends up opening up an opportunity for the Miami Heat and this is going to cause a major problem on that team also, because eventually guys are going to be pissed off about this. You know, they're not going to be happy with a guy that's going to take half the season off. And they all got together for one reason, and this guy's bailing out on the reason why they got together.
And yet, Big O, I would honestly say this also. Let's look at that Nets roster. A team that has James Harden and Kevin Durant and everyone else, I think you could look at the situation where maybe you go in the direction and say they're still good enough with the talent that they have. So, you know what? I'm going to switch over to phone line now. I think that's probably preferable based on the Wi-Fi here at the arena. So I'll be right back in just a second.
Yes, let's do that. Let's get Ira on the phone, and we'll do it that way instead. And we'll overall be able to what's it called? Talk a little bit about this situation here. There we go, Ira.
You know what? You don't get my pretty face, but at least you're going to get more of my bad opinions and my bad takes.
We love you. We love you. We love you. And just to kind of go back on this last point, that
Sure.
Obviously this is something that if Miami can take advantage of here, if this is really going to happen for obviously for Kyrie and Wiggins to a lesser extent, that's going to affect them too. But if this is going to be their stance, I wonder, will the NBA do something extra on top of everything else?
And they won't, because there's a salary being lost, because any person has the right to make a decision like this if they want something injected to their body, right or wrong. That's just part of it. Big O, these are unusual times. There is no collective bargaining agreement in any sport that mentions in the middle of a pandemic where a vaccine is available. It's not written into the words, and all those documents are already in there. So they're in a position where everyone is sort of flying by the seat of their pants, and I get that. Matter of fact, I'm going to look at it a different way, Big O. If I'm the Warriors, or I'm the Nets, or the Wizards, or the Mavericks, or have a player who might not be able to play this season, I'm wondering if they should be given some sort of salary cap relief or salary cap exception. In other words, if the Nets have to go without Kyrie Irving because of his choice, should their fan base and their players and the rest of the guys who are part of the union be penalized, or should they get an exception so they can go out and sign a player, maybe a quality cut, maybe a Goran Dragic who gets a buyout? In other words, let's say the league, okay, you can have a mid-level exception, but Kyrie's ineligible for the season. All of a sudden, a Goran Dragic might say, you know what, I'll have a small buyout from the Raptors, and I'll go win a championship with the Nets. So I think there's a part B to this equation, and I think it's how is the NBA, or how will they legislate the teams in order to make things fairer for them? So I think that's the other part of the equation also. As far as the players, you know what? You're going to lose the salary. It's a choice you make. It's a choice we all have. If you didn't like the conditions at your workplace or at mine, and I didn't come in today, yeah, my boss, whoever's in charge, has the right not to pay you, even in these unusual circumstances. But again, Big O, my whole thought is this. This should have been handled by the league in August. This should have been handled before training camp. We shouldn't be making up rules now this late in the game. That's just my thought.
No, I'm with you. The only thing is now you're killing me, Ira, because I had to deal with that shit with the Tampa Bay Lightning, getting the break on their injured player, and they were able to load up. And now you want to give the Nets another break too? No, you signed the knuckleheaded flake. You go down with the knuckleheaded flake.
And that's a good point. But what if you drafted or signed a Christian Scientist who just says, I don't accept this form of medicine. You knew when you signed me I was going to take a different training approach. You might have known that also. I'm looking for a competitive standpoint for a team, but I will say this. If you that cap exception, unlike what Tampa Bay did, I believe, with Kucherov and how they got into the playoffs and made life easier by going over the cap because it was just a playoff, then player X can't return at all in 2021. He can't return in the regular season. He can't return in the playoffs. So if you're going to do it that way, then you work it that way. Then you say, you know what? Just like with Albert Wilson and the Dolphins and all the players, and Big O, you know this, there were a lot of players who bypassed last NFL season because they didn't feel comfortable. That's fine. We will see you in 2022, 23. God bless you. Maintain your health. Do what you think is right. Practice your religious, your moral, your medical principles. That's fine. And the train will now leave the station. It is this uncertainty. It is this players only playing in road games. That's not basketball. That's not the NBA. And just as I mentioned, no one saw the pandemic coming. No one saw it lasting this long. You have to be flexible. The rules are out the window. Make new rules, but make rules that make sense. That's my thought on that, Big O.
All right. Good stuff there, as always. Ira, How is the first weeks of training camp going to be? What's different nowadays to, let's say, when I was on the beat and they would not touch the ball for the first 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's not just all that defensive drilling. It's really interesting. And people out there who don't know what Big O's talking about, it used to be you put the emphasis on defense, the offense will come. You know what, Big O? That was another era when you were covering it, when you were down here, where defense could still dominate. Where Pat Riley would say, I don't care if I have to bring this thing to a crawl and win 89-88. The league is not that way anymore. You damn better be able to score between 100 and 110 points a game, or else you're not going to be able to compete. So, yes, they are touching the ball. They are shooting the ball. They are scoring the ball. There's going to be a scrimmage today at 11 o'clock. That's why I had to jump on a little earlier with you today. Bad video to start this segment because I want to actually see how they play it. And that's my question. I'm not doubting the defense. Neither are you. They've got guys like Bam Adebayo and Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler, and PJ Tucker. They'll be fine defensively. I'm not so sure there's enough offense here, especially until Victor Oladipo comes back. So that's what Ira Winderman needs to see is how are they going to score the ball. I hope to see it a little today. I'm curious if they run PJ Tucker with starters, if there'll be enough offense in that group. Duncan Robinson's going to have to hit threes like crazy. It's a different time, O. It's all about this is the Big O offense when it comes to the Heat.
Well, and I want to see also what's it called? Tyler Hero, the buff Tyler Hero, rebounding, playing a little defense. You know what I'm saying? I definitely want to see a little bit of that. Not only do I want to see him take that next step offensively, but we also need to see him take that next step defensively too.
Yeah, you know what? But even if he doesn't take it defensively, there's enough people in that situation, especially when Victor Oladipo comes back, where I can put my defensive lineup when I'm trying to nurse an 8-point playoff lead with 8 minutes to go. Not as concerned about that. Oh, when you go through this roster, we can go through it together. There's 3 levels of scoring that you need in today's NBA. Get to the rim, hit the jumper, make the 3. Honestly, I'm not so sure the Heat have many, if any, players right now who fill that bill. I think the only one available now who can get to the rim, hit the jumper, hit the 3 is Tyler Hero. I think Victor Oladipo, which is why it's so essential that he can do it also. Jimmy doesn't hit the 3. Kyle doesn't get to the rim as much more. Bam doesn't hit the 3. Duncan is not a get to the rim off the dribble kind of guy. That's the thing. 3-level offensive players, it's all there for Tyler Hero. He's the one right now who can do it. And more than that, Big O, he's the one who has to do it.
Well, let's hope so, man. That's gonna. And now, when you look at windows, is this the best window for the Heat? When we look at these contracts, the ages, all of that, is this the ultimate season for this group right here?
Yeah, you're spot on, Big O. Because of the ages, because you have Kyle Lowry, who's already 35, because you have Tucker, who's 36, because you have Jimmy Butler and Markieff Morris in their 30s, it's not going to get easier. It doesn't for any of us. I can attest to that. And the other point you made about the Brooklyn Nets not being as solid or who they are or having been together, that's still, to me, the team to beat. And even the Milwaukee Bucks, they lost PJ Tucker. Can they deal with prosperity? Lord knows, you were part of this, Big O, after 2006. The Heat sure as heck could not deal with prosperity after they won their first title. So this is the window. This is the Heat. You know what? Oh, one thing that didn't even matter is maybe the Philadelphia 76ers being out of the way. That right now, most people look at the teams at the top of the East are Brooklyn and are Milwaukee, and some are still saying Philadelphia. Well, if Ben Simmons gets traded for draft choices or something less, that might move them out of the way also. So, yeah, this is their window, not the regular season. Heat fans, don't panic if the Heat finish 4th or 5th in the East. It's all about the playoffs, and it's always all about the playoffs anyway.
All right, wrap it up with this. How does the Ben Simmons thing end? Because he says he's willing to hold out and lose out all that money, and obviously it seems like they can't reach him. So what happens here? Do they finally trade him? Do they capitulate and settle for less? Because they're certainly not going to get what they might think is his trade value.
Yeah, they're going to have to settle for pennies on the dollar. They'll refuse to do it early. I could see a Harden-like situation where 8, 9, 10, 12 games of the season, they hold on to him and hope. So they take the best possible offer. They wind up getting somewhat of an offensive upgrade, but give up a lot on defense. they'll be a different team, and I think it's going to be shaky. But I'm sure you'll mention this in your show, the way Joel Embiid called out Ben Simmons and said, we rebuilt this team in your playing style. We got rid of Jimmy Butler because you wanted to be on the ball. I can't see any way that they can embrace a return by him. It's going to be awkward if he's on the roster on opening night. It's going to be awkward if he's in the lineup and playing with the players, which I don't see. So they have to make a move. Daryl Morey is going to try to shoot for the stars, try to get some sort of package. The difference is when he was in Houston and Harden was traded, they wanted draft choices. They wanted the future.
Right.
This is the Philadelphia team that has to win now because the process is in its 84th season. Now is go time in Philly. He really screwed up that team. I also think Doc Rivers screwed it up with his comments after the playoffs. He didn't have to be as direct. I think maybe it wasn't the right fit for Doc Rivers on that team. So, yeah, they're a mess. Again, it really is a case of the Heat having to seize the moment, seize the Kyrie moment, seize the Ben Simmons moment, seize the chronological of your moment. So, yeah, it's at hand. Last season, the Heat didn't win a single playoff game. This season, they darn well better win at least 8 playoff games because this is their chance to get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, the Sixers can be proud of this. They're only second to the Miami Dolphins in the rebuilding process. So there you go. Ira, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you. Have a fantastic weekend and enjoy the scrimmage.
Hey, an old school radio telephone interview. Nothing like it. Thank you, Big O.
You got it,
Bye-bye.
baby. You be good. There you go.